Something. Whether it be my dad, Brian David Schwartz, my older brother, Eric Christopher Schwartz, Brenda Dickinson of Chapel, Nebraska, who worked for Sandhills Crisis Intervention Program. No matter who it is, if you're a friend or family member, you need to listen to the victim. Those of us who grew up in the system, we have to be afraid to speak. People just assume it must be our fault, or they blow us off like the issues that we have are not big issues. It's no big thing. No, you have no idea what it's like. A lot of people wanting to throw tantrums and get their words taken down off of my Facebook and my YouTube. I'm like, no. You ever try being a good person? You ever try that? I'm trying to get help. That's what all of this is about. This is what all of this was about before Natalie was killed too. Trying to get help stopping the abuse. But it doesn't matter. Because you say, oh, well, Sean, if you hadn't spoken up, it never would have happened. No, it happened because people have motives beyond my control. They have motivations beyond my control. They have thoughts, feelings, and opinions beyond my control. And then they commit actions like threats, harassment, and cyber stalking beyond my control. And it's only wrong if I pretend to be one of them. Oh, it's wrong if I do it back. I get it. That's the whole point, bud. The rules are different for you than they are for me. If I do the things that you tell me to do, I'll go to jail. If I do the things that my predators do to me, I'll go to jail. Because of the term mentally ill. Here in America, that's a death sentence if you have no friends or family who understand. It's one thing for friends and family to understand. It's another one for them to pretend like the abuse that they put you through is somehow magically okay. And that you're just being a sissy for being traumatized by it. Y'all have no idea how cool you are. Wait, no, some of you really revel in it. And you think that's okay, but guaranteed, if I do that very same thing, you will throw a fit and say, you shouldn't be like that. Shouldn't I? It's okay for you. Why are the rules different for you? Why is it that if something happens to you or with you, you need instant satisfaction and gratification? But if it happens to me, you postpone and postpone and postpone and procrastinate and let anybody do whatever they want. As long as they're not doing it to you. If it happens to you, you flip your wig. Bad form. It shows extreme hypocrisy. The fact that you will tell me to let people hurt me shows that you don't care about me. You expect me to be Jesus. You expect every man to be Jesus. But you expect Jesus out of yourselves. No, your Jesus is the Jesus of judgment. And that's why I don't want to listen to any more of you about your religious stuff. It's mean. It's mean that you pull the parts out that make it feel better for you to be judgmental. Oh, the Bible says so I'm not judging you. The Bible... No, you are. You're interpreting the book how you see fit. With just little bits and pieces. Oh, it says it in the Bible. Are you taking it out of context? And what does the Bible have to do with people assaulting me and threatening my life and taking advantage of myself and other at-risk adults out here? Taking advantage of our disabilities and bullying us until we can't speak, until we're afraid to try. Those of you who can go in alone, I'm glad for you. I'm glad that you have it good like that. I have to record everything when I go in because I have to go in alone and I don't have it like that. Anybody can lie to me, call me mentally ill, and pretend they didn't say it. Police in Tillamook here have told me repeatedly a whole bunch of different laws. It seems to me that when it comes to a situation, the laws just keep on changing. Laws change every week, don't they? Somehow, magically, it always turns out to be something in their favor, doesn't it? Hey, Sean, look at all this stuff they're doing for people up there. On paper, sure, fine. In reality, they're harming us greatly up here. Sure, there's nice people, but there's no good ones. Law enforcement has done everything that they can to undermine my efforts by pretending that I'm a druggie who's nuts. That'll drive somebody nuts, and it does. All the people I'm sent to, as far as these agencies go, all want to send me back to the police who sent me to these agencies. Are sending me back and forth. It's illegal for them to do that, but they're doing it anyway. Meanwhile, I just need a quiet place to sit down with my evidence and work on this stuff. But also, I have disabilities. They do need to be accounted for, but if you're not willing to listen, you're so busy talking about yourself. Why would you keep me around as a friend? So you can just talk about yourself? That ain't right. Anyway, my external batteries are overheating, so I'm unplugging everything, and if I can find my keys, I'm going to turn off my car. I have to be afraid to go to the police because when you're homeless, the police response is not okay. See, those of you who want to tell me about how great your lives are, there are a lot of different factors that go into this. As a female, people feel sorry for you on the streets, even those of us out here on the streets. I speak up about what women have to go through out here. I also speak up about how men have to go through the same stuff. I'm not allowed to say that part. Step 1, go to the bullies and ask them to stop. Well, you don't have to go to the bullies. They come and find you and bully you. Tim Beeson called me. He got a hold of me on Facebook on multiple occasions to harass me, and he just kept it up. They kept it up to the point that I was trying to get legal action against these people, but all I got was the runaround and sent to therapy. Like, hey, are you not understanding? I want to be able to go see my friends and family. I don't want to be stuck with a bunch of druggies and drunks in Nebraska. I finally did get low income there in Nebraska. But that's not okay. I didn't do anything wrong to these people. When I tell the truth, you know what? You deserve for me to tell the truth. I'm to understand your disabilities and you're just going to talk over mine. Oh, if you can do it from in a house that you've had for 8 years with an address where you can receive mail, then I should be able to do it from out here. Right? No, I need a safe place for me long enough to actually work on this. Not being run around from place to place to place. Services that are supposed to help. They give you some food once in a while. Once in a great while, they give you some gas. But not often. When they do, I'm grateful for it. I am grateful for the sandwiches, but that is not an adequate replacement for doing your job as a mandated reporter for somebody who can't take care of themselves. It is obvious that I can't take care of myself. And look at how much time I end up waiting on people who claim that they're going to help me but never show up. One lady, she was trying to blame me for... Well, I was literally 8 minutes late, but I drove around and didn't start making a video until like 45 minutes after the situation. First, she wanted to pretend like she was there and I wasn't. I was like, no, that's not the case. I believe in doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And the right thing to do when there are predators is to turn them in. A lot of people who promised to help, well, their excuses was there's predators in their lives. I tried to help turn in those predators. I was not treated very well. See, that's the thing. If you're going to tell me that people are doing stuff to your kids, you cannot expect me to keep that quiet. You cannot expect me to not try to get that turned into the police and have it investigated. If you're going to tell me that you were strung out on drugs at the time, especially when you were taking advantage of me when you promised you were going to help me, or you guys just have some drama every night so that instead of keeping your word, you're going to have a divorce every night with your husband. And some of the people who promised to help me when I got there, it was such a mess. Mostly because of drugs. See, it's not just people on streets that are on drugs, it's you in houses too. And you don't want anybody to know. And where's my key? Anyway, mandated reporters aren't going to do their jobs unless you have a friend or family member who cares. And the problem is, when I have to get someone caught up, I got to catch them up with 6 years of it. Or I got to catch them up with the emergency situation here. And I also got to get them filled in on the situation with Natalie and try to send the information that shows that Natalie Bollinger lied. The evidence of what was said in court and the evidence that those are lies too. That people intentionally misled, including the police, intentionally misled the courts, including public pretenders. Of course, my friends that were there, I had to record that too because they didn't go in with me. Sure, they wrote stuff down, right? But the cops wouldn't take it. They said, how do we know you didn't write that? And that happened over and over again. Cheyenne, Wyoming, Boulder, Colorado. They don't bother to look at any of that. You can see that. When I tried to show the mandated reporters that stuff, they turned it off immediately and looked the other way. They don't understand that I don't have a place to process it, and that because they do things like that, I can't feel safe turning it in alone. The only way that I'm able to do it safely is in person. Let me show you in person. You know what it took to get Tara Smith from Health and Human Services in Nebraska, Adult Protective Services, to finally show up? I gave them the idea that I was going to sign over all of my money to them so that they could have control of my money. That's what I had to do to get an Adult Protective Services worker to show up in western Nebraska. And there's multiple situations that the people that I was supposed to go to for help, all they do is argue and tell me it was someone else's job. They wouldn't find out what's going on. When something goes wrong, my mandated reporter is who I go to, the person they tell me to. But I have no idea who I'm supposed to go to for them to help me with these things, because nobody is helping me with them. They're just sending me to these places alone. And all of these people take advantage of my communication disabilities and the time shortage. They tell me to be patient. Well, they're too patient, except when it comes to listening to me. They can't be patient at all. Even the therapists want to talk over me. How about you listen to understand instead of to argue? You're not trying to help. You're not doing your job as a mandated reporter. And this is not okay. It is not okay. The fact is, these mandated reporters want to, well, as you can tell, lie to and manipulate at-risk adults on the streets into wasting all of their disability money for the ones lucky enough to have it, forcing us to do things that are dangerous. Dangerous. And as long as they ignore the evidence and don't help an at-risk and disabled adult to turn it in, to actually have the resources necessary to even do so safely. What are we doing here? Why are we making at-risk adults go in alone and be blown off alone? Why is it that when an at-risk adult, especially a male and homeless at-risk adult, comes to you for help, everything in your life is more important than theirs? If they're your friend, you should want the abuse to stop instead of talking over them or snapping at them so they're too afraid to speak. It's horrible. And you don't listen to understand. How many hospital workers have we recorded admitting that the way that homeless and disabled people are treated by the hospitals and by the system is horrible? Well, why are they telling us instead of doing their jobs as mandated reporters? Because they know these places are committing fraud. They know these places are blowing us off and discriminating against us. That they're not following the law. That they are doing these things because there is more money and an incentive for them to not do their jobs. These therapists, instead of doing their jobs as mandated reporters, they want your Medicare and Medicaid. They want to bill the government for you coming in for therapy instead of doing their jobs as mandated reporters. But as long as they're nice about it, right? As long as they're nice about talking over you and talking over your rights and lying to you and misleading the situation, not allowing you to finish anything that you're saying, snapping at you, getting irate and talking over you, being condescending. When people don't want to do their jobs, they'll waste a lot of time not doing their jobs, trying to convince you that they don't need to do their jobs. And guess what? They don't, because you don't hold them accountable. You don't hold them accountable, especially when it's an at-risk and disabled adult, because you just call them mentally ill and it's their fault. It's their fault they were victimized. He's a man. He must have chosen to be victimized. Or it never happened because he's a man. Men can't be victimized. Nobody would ever harm a man. Nobody would ever target a man. Ever. Your excuse for not helping a man is that women have it worse. Are you sure? When a man is stalked, he's stalked by a woman and her friends. And then he's treated like he's the stalker when he has a mental breakdown. And he's not allowed to speak up or he's sexist. When people harm us, it's our fault. We chose to be victimized until we have to live in parking lots. We chose it, didn't we? If we show you an example of what we go through, you flip your wig after telling us we need to just ignore it. We just need to ignore it. I give you a tiny, tiny taste. I show you one example and you flip your wig as if it's the end of the world. As if you're just going to die because, well, now you know how I'm treated. And you don't like it. It feels horrible, doesn't it? How do you like it? Meanwhile, you got friends and family members that you can go to that'll harass me and threaten me and make fake accounts. This is what happens to at-risk and disabled adults when they try to come forward. They're bullied by everyone. We don't matter. You tell us what to do, what to think, and what to feel. You don't take any account of our disabilities. If you can't see it, it doesn't exist. But you can see it. If you didn't see it, you wouldn't be taking advantage of it. And you know that you're doing it when you do it. These mandated reporters all chose not to do their jobs when they should have done so. And my so-called friends and family all showed that they weren't friends and family when I needed them to actually be friends and family instead of just pretty words on Facebook. People were hurting me, so I couldn't see my friends and family in person. But you don't stop to recognize that. Was my sister gaslighting me because she was all strung out? Like Ed and, what's his name? Riley Lawton Sr. said? Or Riley Lyndon? They just call him Senior. When a man is abused, you tell him just to ignore it, no matter how much abuse. You don't want to be on the internet in a post that maybe 100 people will see overall. But you want to tell me to just ignore the fact that I'm in posts, millions of them, with people slandering my name, actually slandering my name. Now, whether or not I slandered any of your names, if you claim that I slandered your name, then you need to take that up with the police, who slandered our names in court. But you didn't do that, did you? Is it slander or no? If it is slander, it shows that the police slandered all of us in court. It shows that the Bollingers slandered all of us in court. If it's slander when I repeat what they said about you in court where you didn't show up, well, They were able to railroad me based on that slander, buddy. They were able to railroad me based on the fact that you never came forward. Ever. I had to record you. All of you. You made me record you and post you on the internet in order to try to get help. You made me show how it is that you run somebody around in circles and get nothing done. Are you going with me to these places, or are you just telling me what they're supposed to do? Are you making the calls to these places as an informed friend or family, or are you 6 years behind? See, people forgot who I was as long as I was no longer physically fit. I was no longer able to do all the things that they were used to me doing. Ah, there's my keys. And therefore, I must have just magically ended up lazy and doesn't want to work now. Something needs to be done. I found some chips and a couple of packets of... I found one of mayonnaise and one of mustard. Make myself a prison spread, I guess, roundabout. My friends and family didn't want to understand. My friends and family didn't want to understand all the things that people were doing to prevent me from showing evidence, to prevent me from speaking up. It's not that I didn't try. And the people who did the most were my friends and family. Because like I said, the only people that accept you when you're different are drug addicts. Because nobody wants them either. Of course, you don't want your autistic kid. It's not like when somebody with autism who's low functioning is abused. Oh wait, it is. It's exactly the same. You punish us for stimming, and then you tell us that we chose for you to harm us. That's right, you tell us it was our choice for you to harm us. I had Tourette syndrome and mustard potato chips up in my gums. Alright, I don't have Tourette syndrome up in my gums, just mustard potato chips. Right now I can't carry myself. Can't carry my stuff into the library. My back hurts bad, my legs hurt bad. And I've repeatedly been forced to go to my friends and family. What friends and family? You mean drug addicts, or do you mean everybody else who just wants to talk about how hard they work? You know how condescending that is to somebody who is disabled and homeless? Do you know how condescending that is? I get that you work. I get that you have a job. But if you care about someone, you take the time to help them turn it in. You show your sexism when you'll help a woman to destroy a man's life because He didn't do it. She wanted right when she wanted it. But then you'll tell a man who's being abused by that very same woman, oh, you just need to be patient. You need to be patient. Oh, I'm your friend. I'm your friend. No, you're not. That's the problem with you guys not wanting to take sides. You have taken sides. Most of you have already decided. That's the problem with being a male. That part right there makes me guilty every time, doesn't it? In your mind, I must be guilty. You don't pay attention to all the stuff that people wanted to put me on a Facebook ban for. A lot of it was for speaking out about abuse, about how killing people is wrong. WRONG. Unfortunately, the police did not get the memo. 61% of those killed by police last year, 61% of them were homeless. 96% were men. You don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that most violent crimes are committed against men. You don't want to hear that most violent crimes committed by women go unreported. You don't want to hear that the most likely person to beat you is your mother. Most of us already know it.